Hello? Hello? Can you guys hear me? All right. What's up? What's up, guys? It's me, Thor's biggest fan, Evan. And today we're going to be reviewing uh, the House of Rouse episode 1, the Big Fat Liar review, and their top 5 comedies. So we're going to review the episode. I've taken some notes. I've listened to the episode over about 3 dozen times. So I just wanted to let you guys know if it was worth listening to, and review it. And so let's just get into it. Later I'll be doing 10 things you didn't know about the House of Rouse, because I've done some research and some deep diving into their lives. So I'm going to tell you some things that you might not have known. But first, let's do the review. So the intro for this one, it lacks professionalism, is my first note. It's not very professional. It seems like they have trouble like getting everything set up and started. Also, it sounds like they're setting up cameras, but I don't see any cameras. It's all audio. All their videos so far are all audio, even though I've heard rumors that they're going to do videos in the future. So that's like kind of my first note. So that's not very professional. I love the intro music though. The music is so good. This is a note that this is before they had ads. This is before they exploded. I mean, this one kind of got them viral, but this is their first piece. So of course they didn't really have sponsors for the first one. That comes later. But they still made their intro music, and I really appreciate it. I think it's good, and it's their classic music that everyone knows them for is the intro. Like, it's become monument. I'm pretty sure UFC fighters walk out with it now and stuff like that. And the Oscars, even put a reference in their last Oscars over the intro song. So I thought that was really cool. They deserve it for sure. So then the episode goes into Hunter's description of Big Fat Liar, which is hilarious. Hunter's always on his antics and expressing himself in very sophisticated ways about, a, what is this, Disney or DreamWorks children's film, which is always like a really good laugh, which of course makes Evan laugh a lot. Evan laughs a lot in this episode. I don't. It kind of tends to do that. I think he just laughs too much sometimes. He's kind of like, I don't know, so it's just a little it just seems a little off to me. And it always seems like he's pandering a little too much, maybe sometimes. Like he just wants people to like him too much. I don't know. I mean, kind of a dick sometimes. But of course he's he's a classic character. So say what you will about him, but he's stamped as a House of Rouse classic. I will say, this is my next note as I was watching this one, that I think at this point they've really peaked. This is the Big Fat Liar review, the classic, that kind of kicked it off. And I think it's kind of like their peak. And I'm thinking now that they're further into their career, that maybe it's time for them to stop altogether. You know what I mean? Like, just put it to rest and just let it, like how Weezer made their first 3 albums and they were good, but then after the third album, like the green one, they were kind of like, maybe it's time to hang it up and just say your legends and leave and walk out the door and not just make shit albums until like a decade later. So I think they've peaked and maybe it's time for this to stop. But I love in this episode, of course, how they go scene by scene. There's great elements of unity in this episode, and playing a lane and committing to that lane. Even though this is their first episode and they didn't have it all figured out per se, they still knew to choose a lane and to stick to it. And if it didn't work out, just to work on something new later. But you always want to follow through with what you've started and not change lanes midway through. Let me change it. So I thought that was really cool and professional of them. And like I said, there's great elements of unity too. Like it's a bunch of different shapes, but they're putting them together and making it all seem like there's a method to this madness that they've created, which is really dope. Um, and I really like the whole scene by scene thing. They're really like picking apart this movie and analyzing it, which I don't think anyone's ever done with these movies, especially with Big Fat Liar. So it's really cool to see them pick apart something that wasn't meant to be picked apart per se, and really like shine some light on on details um, that most people wouldn't pick up on unless you were having repeated viewings or studying it. And that's kind of what they're doing is like they're studying this a like it's a class, like they're taking Big Fat Liar as a class, and then they're reviewing it and picking it apart and analyzing it, like any great literature college course would do or something like that. So really cool. Evan also says that it's an intelligent plot for kids. Good point. That's a good point on Evan's side. I mean, typically, I don't really like him. He's my least favorite for sure. But Big Fat Liar is an intelligent plot for kids. Like I can't take that away from him. Usually he's a dummy, but good point for him to say that. That's pretty dope for him to say. It is an intelligent plot for kids. I definitely want my kids, if I ever have some, um, to watch Big Fat Liar and learn the lessons of it. It's a fish eat fish town, Hollywood, and that's really dope. Um, I like how Hunter is on page with Evan a lot for like the fat shaming, for an example. Um, they're really like bouncing off each other, and like once again I don't really like Evan, but I think like with elements of a Hunter, like bringing him up and pulling him out and like bouncing off like a ping pong ball, it can like really show the good elements of Evan, and I think like that's really dope for Hunter to do, because like without him, like Evan would just drown. And um so that's really cool that like he can do that and pull him out when Evan's drowning. But like they stay on the same page, and like they both like are like vibing with each other's thoughts, and like they're really like Hunter's coming at him like like, hey, I think they're fat shaming. Evan's like, hey, me too. And you know, um that's really fun to watch. Just a fun time for everyone to listen. And if you want to stare at the the background too, you can. Colin loves this movie. You can tell by the way he talks about it and by the way he laughs and by the quotes he uses. Like they're very like risque quotes that not a lot of people would know, and like so it's like he has that in his memory, and like you can tell that he really loves this movie. He's watched it a bunch, which that's like really dope, because like now you're talking, it's like you're kind of like listening to like an expert on Big Fat Liar, you know what I mean? Like you're not just hearing someone who's like half-ass watched this. You're listening to somebody who's like intelligently watched this and studied and analyzed his whole life, like almost like he's taking it as a master class, and now it's like he has his doctorate in um, Big Fat Liar. So that's really cool to watch, to like to listen to that type of point of view coming at you, about Big Fat Liar, and so like you really know that you're getting the truth, and you know what's going on. It's like you could, it's like you don't even have to watch the movie to like to hear this, because it's like now the movie's being unraveled for you, and that's just super dope. Um, Colin also tends to talk more as the episode goes on. That might be because this is the first episode, but it's like he gains confidence as it goes on, and that's pretty dope to see him like audibly like coming out of his shell more and more. That's pretty cool, and like starting to like get his grounding on what's happening, and I really appreciate that from him and think that's pretty dope. Like I said, like Hunter and Colin are both like cool and all, but like Evan's dope too, but like sometimes he could go like drown in a river or something, like um yeah, I mean, and sometimes I can like sometimes you can be harsh on somebody. Like it's just something about the way he speaks, and I just like have this image in his head in my head of like what he looks like, and it's just like really stupid. Um, but who has ever like also another good note is no one's ever spoken about Big Fat Liar in depth about like they have, and I think that makes this special. And I think that's what broke them out into mainstream. Was doing that um, when there's these when there's all of these like DVDs and all these movies being made and all these things happening, like some things get caught in the undertow and they don't get analyzed, they don't get to be able to have the opportunity to be spoken in depth for. They get lost, and like I think they're really doing a like Thor's really um, doing these movies a service and doing a service for everyone to take these and find these and like coal miners finding these DVDs and bringing them out into the light and saying, hey, these were here and these deserve to be heard. That's awesome. I really appreciate that they're doing that. And it makes me want to keep listening for the next episodes. But like I said, I just think they peaked, and I think it's time to like cool it down. Like you've done your work, House of Rouse. Like you've done, like you were our hero, and like you shined a light, and I think now it's time to like batten down the hatches and just stop where you are. Stop while you're ahead. You don't want to burn out. Um, you don't want to be you don't want to be bad Weezer. You don't want to be make believe Weezer. You just don't. You don't want to be Beverly Hills, so don't do it. There's so many metaphors in Big Fat Liar. That's another point they bring up. I think Colin brings it up and Evan agrees, and that's like really dope that they pointed that out, because then I went back and I rewatched Big Fat Liar, and I was like that's there are metaphors in this, and it is really intelligent. It is really cool. So a lot of metaphors, and it's cool that they picked up on that. I would have never picked up on that if I had never listened to this. So they're just like really smart guys who like really figure stuff out um, that only I feel like the writer of the film or the director would know, except and that's like they've kind of like unlocked their secrets. So I'd say the House of Rouse are kind of like unlocking secrets for people. I would say my last note to end on for this review is that this is the best review ever made, for sure. It's like number one for me. Um, if I had to do a list for like top 10 reviews, I would definitely make this number one. It's the OG. It's what every like I don't know if you noticed, but ever since this review came out, it's funny because like everyone else started kind of like following this like blueprint that they laid out, but it's like they didn't even know they were laying out this blueprint. They were just so genius in doing what they wanted to do and having fun and being intelligent and doing this thing, and like it just broke out and worked so well that it's like everyone like it's like it started a trend that now everyone's following, and it's just like you can't recreate genius. So it revolutionized um, web shows and podcasting per se. Uh, so that is super super cool that they did that. They were the first. Um, and now it's onto their list, the top fives. They did top five comedies um, for this episode. I would have to say this is the worst top five comedies, um, especially for Colin and Hunter. Like I said, Evan, is just like sometimes he's just a hunk of just a hunk of shit, and deserves to die. But he had the best top five comedies, and he had the best top five for this episode. Um, so that's really dope to see him like to express himself and just show his sense of humor in such a magnificent way, and give credit to where credit's due for great comedies. And Colin's comedies were a little too modern, that um, he didn't give an ode to the originals, and Hunter went for nostalgia, but Evan was like, okay, what deserves to be here forever? what deserves to make the world laugh forever, and he went with that. And so I think he mostly spoke for the world when Colin and Hunter spoke for themselves. There's good anger in this top five. People are getting angry, um, and that's really cool to see how passionate there are. Especially Hunter will be so passionate about people's opinions, and that's super dope to see him like really care about comedies and really care about quality and really care about um, what other people believe in, because some people can believe in bullshit and you just gotta like call them out on it. So I really like to see that from Hunter. I think he's got a good set of balls on him. um, and so that's my review of the first episode of the House of Rouse. Thanks, guys, and hopefully they'll sponsor me soon, or like maybe do like a partnership. That'd be super dope. One can dream, right? So now I'm going to tell you guys I've been doing some research, and I've been going around looking around, and I did all the work, so you guys don't have to. I'm just going to give it to you, which is use me, whatever, use me, but so I'm going to show you guys 10 things you didn't know about Thor, which I found out. Um, let's see. And I think, um, let's see, how do I want to go from? Okay, so here we go. So, number one, for 10 things you didn't know about Thor. Number one, this one's pretty good. Hunter. His nickname is actually, they call him the cucumber because of the size of his penis. His dick is humongous, like so big and like just like thick, like it's so crazy. So they all call him cucumber. They're like in the locker rooms and stuff, like the YMCA. They're like, "Hey, what's up, cucumber? Hey, you got that big swinger. Don't turn around too fast and let it hit me in the face." And then like Hunter like turn around and like smack somebody in the face. So that's pretty like interesting. I thought it was pretty cool that Hunter's like got a big old dong. Um, Number two is their fourth member is currently in rehab. So if you guys didn't know, the House of Us actually has a fourth member of their cast for the reviews and stuff. You guys haven't met him yet because he's actually in rehab right now for alcohol. So he's working on that, and they said he'd probably get out by the time the next episode comes out. So he might actually be in that episode. We'll have to see. I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see him get Nancy. Um, Number three, Colin actually doesn't have a pinky toe, which is so crazy. He didn't get cut off or anything. He just was born without a pinky toe. He doesn't have one on each foot. So he's got four toes, and he says balancing is kind of hard for him. And he still tries to work out and tries to jog every once in a while, but it's a bigger challenge for him because he doesn't have that pinky toe. And apparently that your foot relies a lot on that. So let's all pray for Colin and his pinky toe when you have the time. Number four, I have to say, it's a horrible show. If you didn't know, The House of Rouse is terrible. Um, it's a horrible show. Like they don't do anything right. They have no theme, and they have no structure, and it just seems like they're kind of like throwing shit at the wall. I don't know who like was the mastermind behind it, but it's honestly pointless and disgusting, and I don't want to watch it anymore. So it's a horrible show. Number five of what you didn't know about Thor. It's a great show. It's really good. It's great quality. They know exactly what they're doing, and they like are precisely doing it. It's like they don't leave out any details. They're really like trying to bring you in and like let you enter this world and say, "Here we are, and here you are. Now you're stuck, and like you don't want to leave either." It's if you ever seen Percy Jackson, it's like when they go in the casino and don't leave for like 3 days. It's kind of like how they're doing, and it's really crazy. I don't know if they're like purposely making addictive like Mark Zuckerberg did with Facebook, but it just seems like that, and it's super cool. Um, All right, so number 6, oddly enough, Hunter's top 3 favorite movies are slave movies. He hasn't talked about this because of the controversial uh, aspects of it in the episodes, but his top 3 movies are slave movies, and he doesn't specify like what about them he loves so much, but he just talks about how much he loves those movies and that he watches them at least once a week, all 3 of them. I think they were, um, I think it was Roots. If you count it, he counts it. 12 Years a Slave. He also he loves that movie to death. Um, and the third one, it wasn't Django, um, but it wasn't Django. I think it was maybe Glory, but I can't remember. You'd have to ask him. So guys, like hit him up and comment. Ask him which one it is. Maybe he'll get a response from us. Number 7 is that they're no longer sponsored by Clementines, which I like. That's like a new sponsor from them, but they're not sponsored by them anymore. It's Clinton's like pulled out real quick when they watched the episode, and they've asked the House Rouse countless times to take it down, but they don't, and they refuse to because like they're just badasses, you know. But Clinton's, they did a sponsor saying that they're for people with chlamydia. It's mittens made for people with chlamydia, and that they have chlamydia inside the mittens, and you put them on, and like it doesn't hurt you because because you have chlamydia, you know. But actually, chlamydia has nothing to do with chlamydia, and they're actually Santa Claus mittens, and they're for the holidays. They're for Christmas, and they're just Santa Claus themed, like claws mittens, except they just took out the, I guess for like I don't know, just for marketing, but they made it claw mittens. So it's claw mittens, and it has nothing to do with chlamydia. So I don't know where they got that idea, but that's pretty cool. And 8, 9, and 10 are I'm in love with the House of Rouse. That's all. That is 8, 9, and 10 because of how much I love them. It just took up the 3 spaces. I just love the House of Rouse so much. They're like my spirit animal for real. And like I said, I think it's time for them to hang it up. But like the ride has just been so incredible, and it's been such a journey, and I'm just so happy that they're here. So, thanks for tuning in, guys. It looks like we've gotten tons of responses and tons of people are watching this. So, sweet. Go follow us on go follow the House Rouse on MySpace. I love their MySpace account. But I got tons of people watching, so thanks, guys. Shout out to Mikey. Um, yeah. Peace out, guys. I'll see you. I'll catch you on the flip. Thanks for watching.